have a confession to make. I was a little reluctant about today's tarot card challenge. Today, in case you're wondering, is day 4, and it is about the Four of Pentacles. This is the Smith-Waite Centennial Edition, your traditional Rider-Smith-Waite kind of imagery. And I kind of struggle with the Four of Pentacles a little bit. You know, the kind of the general definition of it is this is the miser, you know, the person that hangs on to his or her money. And the general interpretation seems to be, at least from what I've learned and what I've read, is, you know, that's a bad thing. And the reason I struggle with that is because I am the miser. I am the frugal person. I am the person that kind of holds on to the money, thinks hard about when and where I spend it on, that kind of thing. So I sat with this for a good while this morning while I was drinking my coffee, just kind of looking at the card, thinking about this. I pulled in a couple of guidebooks, kind of reading a little bit about the interpretation of the card, and I journaled about it for quite a while, and it turns out I actually have quite a lot to say. In case you didn't know, I also journal this challenge on an Instagram account. You can find me on Instagram as Tarot for Writing, and I ended up writing quite a bit about it, and I thought I'd pull some of that in and share it here with you and expand on it a little bit as well. So the definition is the miser, the idea that you shouldn't hold on to money too tightly, and the whole thought of maybe you shouldn't think of wealth too highly. And again, it's something I struggle with. And what I thought about this morning is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're not familiar with it, it's the whole idea that there are certain needs that have to be met in a certain order before you can move on to something else. So it starts at the very bottom with physiological needs. You know, the need for food, for shelter, for sleep, that kind of thing. And then next is security, which I think is the big one for me and the reason why I struggle with this card so much. So you need a certain level of security, of feeling like you have what you need in the future to meet those physiological needs before you can move on to, let's say, loftier ideas. You know, from there, the next hierarchy of needs is love and a sense of belonging, of community. And from there, it moves on to esteem, you know, a feeling of self-worth and being valued by those around us. And only then, when you have all these other needs met, can you move into more of an area of self-improvement, of self-actualization. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and that maybe we need a more nuanced look at the miser or at the Four of Coins, that there is definitely a time and a place to hold on to money, to hold on to financial security, to build wealth, that kind of thing. And then I zeroed in on a detail. You know, this is part of the Drop 78 challenge, and one of the prompts is to focus in on a detail. And what I focused in on this morning, what really caught my attention, are his feet and the way his feet are planted on these two coins. I thought that was kind of interesting. To me, the whole suit of Pentacles, since it is the Earth suit, kind of speaks of this feeling of being grounded, of security. But with these coins on the ground in the earth, I kind of thought about planting the seeds of prosperity. And one reason why I think this is important is once we have these seeds of prosperity, once we have that sown and kind of are on our way to feeling monetarily secure, then that opens us up to have the mental bandwidth to work on self-improvement, to do shadow work, to work towards self-actualization. It is hard to take the time and the mental space to work on, what is troubling us, do some inner child work, like I said, do some shadow work. It's hard to do that when your mind is occupied with figuring out how you're going to put food on the table, how are you going to pay rent or make that mortgage payment, those kind of things. So this detail of, taking the time to plant the seeds and only then moving on was really what stood out for me. And I kind of spoke of this whole idea of there is a time for both sides of the coin. There is a time to be the miser, to hold on to stuff, to plant those seeds. But then there's also a time to maybe become aware of that you're overdoing it, or that you're stuck in a pattern that no longer serves you, that kind of idea. And then in discovery, I wanted to share a little bit about you of how I would use this card when I'm working on a character, when I'm working on a story. How do I use this card in my fiction writing? And the first thing I thought about was the ultimate miser, Ebenezer Scrooge from A Christmas Carol. So I could totally see Charles Dickens pulling from this and kind of creating the whole character just based on this card. He is a person of authority. He is somebody who holds on to wealth too tightly. And he lives in a city in London. And, one of the things that's mentioned in Guide's books quite a bit is that we see the city in the background of the card, but that he seems to be sort of removed from it. He has removed himself from his community. And we definitely see that in the beginning of A Christmas Carol with Ebenezer Scrooge. So I could certainly come up with a character like this, or I could, just play with the idea of having somebody who, at the beginning of the story at least, isn't financially very secure. And maybe because of this, he or she rejects friendships and love as a result of this. And again, playing on the idea of having a city, I could go with the old familiar trope of having somebody from the city go out toward the country somewhere, to a small town, and needing to learn that there's more to life than fame and fortune. I could also play with the idea of this being a self-made person. Maybe this is somebody who accumulated all this worth, like a self-made millionaire kind of idea, or, the tech whiz who built a company from scratch and kind of saves the whole town, that kind of idea. Or I can flip it and kind of go back to the whole idea of this person standing or having his feet on the coins, which kind of sparked the idea of maybe this is somebody who inherited the wealth. So that could be a fun story to play with. And, either somebody who grew up wealthy and kind of maybe needs to learn a little bit more about being humble, that kind of thing. Or what if this person all of a sudden received all this wealth? How would that change them? How would that kind of lead to a transformation, to a character arc? And how could that play into a relationship, a budding relationship they have with somebody else? That's something I always think about because I'm a romance writer. So that's kind of fun. I also like the idea of, pulling from the way he's holding this coin in front of his chest, in front of his heart. I could play with the idea of somebody that uses wealth and status as a shield to protect themselves from potential hurt and heartbreak. And then we have somebody here with a crown and a coin on top of the crown. So maybe this is a character who is in a position of power. Maybe this is somebody, if I'm developing a side character, maybe this is somebody that holds the purse string, holds the funds for something my main character needs. So one thing that comes to mind is maybe my main character is trying to buy a house. and she needs the person at the bank to approve the loan, that kind of thing. Or, maybe there's some renovations and she needs an additional loan or needs a financial backer for a company, that kind of idea. So there's a lot to play with. There are a lot of fun little details you can pull out of a tarot card. And I hope this is something that brought value to you, whether you're a writer or a tarot reader. I hope you found this interesting. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you don't mind, share in the comments, what brings you to this video, to this channel. Are you a tarot reader? Is it just something you're interested in, something you're playing with? Or like me, are you a writer or another creative who taps into the power of the tarot to brainstorm and spark creativity? I would love to hear from you. I invite you to subscribe to the channel. The plan is to go through all 78 cards in this manner, and I want to wrap things up by thanking Mindful Tarot for coming up with this fun challenge. And I will see you tomorrow with the next of the Pentacle cards.